The Advertising Standards Agency, the ASA, recently banned an advert for the new electric Volkswagen Golf after they received complaints saying that the advert was promoting negative gender stereotypes, because in this ad there were two male astronauts as well as a woman sitting on a park bench next to a pram, the implication being that men are adventurous and women are more passive. So how many people out of the millions that saw this advert complained? 3. Now, as soon as this story came out, I started reading through comments on articles on the internet. I went through Twitter. I even listened to a radio programme where they had a phone-in on this topic. And I've yet to find one single woman that had an issue with it. In fact, on the radio programme, a female professor called in saying that she admired the positive message this advert was sending, because the way she had seen it was that it was promoting the idea that although men have done most space exploration, it's still women responsible for bringing new life onto the Earth. Now, I didn't see that in this advert, but how powerful is that? No matter what achievements men have made, it pales into insignificance with the ability for women to have children. To be honest, the way I saw the advert, it was like VW were giving a nod to NASA because of their shared history. Because if you didn't know this, NASA, when they were doing their Apollo missions, one of their chief scientists was a guy called Werner von Braun. And before he worked for NASA, he was a Nazi rocket scientist responsible for the V2 rocket that rained death down on London. And of course, Volkswagen, or Volkswagen, the people's car, that was commissioned by Adolf Hitler. I'm not entirely sure that was the angle that VW were going for with that advert. But in fact, while I'm on it, one thing that irritates me about Volkswagen is every few years they'll have some advertising campaign in which they try and remind us of the history of VW. And it's always VW Beetle in the 1960s with the hippies. They've never done a campaign that features Europe 1943 with the SS shooting people in the street. They also never mention that Ted Bundy, the serial killer, he drove a Beetle. But I don't get why people are complaining about an advert anyway, because adverts don't reflect real life. They're there to sell us an ideal. I mean, if we were to take adverts at face value, what would we learn? Well, first of all, despite the obesity epidemic, apparently overweight people don't exist, apart from a few extremely happy women who spend their days frolicking around on the beach in an attempt to sell us clothing. Also, we'd learn that if you buy a new car, apparently traffic magically disappears. Alcohol advertising always shows people drinking and having a good time. It never shows people drunk. I have yet to see a beer commercial that finishes with a guy vomiting heavily into a shop doorway, racially abusing a taxi driver, and then throwing a wheelie bin through a bus shelter. Adverts for women's products for their special time of the month. I've never seen a Tampax advert that features an irritable woman sat on the sofa with a hot water bottle just ramming chocolate into her face. No, it's all tight white shorts and cycling. And the most bizarre thing for me with advertising at the minute is that apparently every heterosexual couple under the age of about 45, the man and the woman are never the same race. Every relationship is interracial. Now, crucially, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Before I settled down with Mrs. Disgruntled, I've gone out with women who've been different skin colours to my own. But it's statistically impossible, because the UK is 87.2% white. We can't all be in interrelation relationships. And the thing is, we know it's bullshit. We know it's being done to tick some fucking diversity box. In the same way that now, if you see an advert that's got two white men in it, the implication is always that they're fucking each other. Now, I'm a white guy, and a lot of my friends are white guys. I've not had sex with any of them. But it's because it's advertising. It isn't real. And the thing that amazes me is that people complained about this, 3 people complained about this VW advert, but no one's complained in general about electric car advertisements, because they're all bullshit. They all go on about how they're emission free and how good electric cars are for the environment, and they are when the car's been fucking built. But just to make the batteries for the Toyota Prius hybrid, just the batteries, that uses more energy and creates more pollution than the entire life cycle of a diesel Range Rover. Why isn't that in the adverts? In fact, let's reinstate the VW advert, provided they put something in like that. Something like, the new electric Volkswagen Golf, for people who want to appear smug and don't give a fuck about the environment. Saying all that, I've been considering getting rid of the Jaguar and buying a VW. A company who have just said don't give a fuck about the environment and pointing out they were started by the Nazis. I'm sure if I go down the showroom and tell the salesman that, he'll give me a discount. Oh fuck, sorry, not salesman, when I see the salesperson. I don't want to be promoting negative gender stereotypes.